Hello, Ronnie. How are we doing?
Not so bad, not so bad. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. So, congratulations on getting your UFC contract.
Oh man, thank you. I appreciate it. It was a good night. Well, I mean, for the most part.
Yeah. And obviously, you fought Jose Johnson. And when I saw him in the cage against you, it was like I looked at seeing his record and everything, and he looks like a really tall guy, rangy, and his experience. I think he had 16 fights to your six going in there. And it was like I looked at him and thought it was could be the worst possible opponent for a fight for your UFC contract. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't get a. I guess I didn't get handed a great matchup.
Yeah. So what sort of things were you doing to prepare for an opponent like that?
Uh, all right. Let me try to get into this. So I didn't really start getting a game plan until, man, I'd say about 3 weeks out because of COVID.
Hmm.
Uh, I can explain the story, but basically my training camp was just not good. It's bad.
Oh no, that's not good. Is that was that part of what happened with the weight cut as well? Because obviously you mentioned to Dana White after you come out of the cage you had a bad weight cut.
I don't know if it was the camp or if I'm getting older and I need to start getting more educated on the rehydration process. Maybe I kept my weight too low because that was the first time I was flying all the way to Vegas, and it
Hmm.
was scared to mess the weight cut up. Couldn't leave the hotel room, so like we had to go to Whole Foods and like buy a bunch of food at once, and I wasn't able to drink water on the flight, and like I lost weight on the actual flight there. When like I've heard stories people hold water, I lost like 3 pounds. So I wasn't able to get my gallon in that day. Like it was just all messed up. I got some adjustments to make for sure, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely hard, especially now with the coronavirus. You go there late and then you don't have enough time to do the stuff you need because, like you say, you've got a quarantine in the hotel.
Yeah,
So it's
everything up. Go to a Walgreens or the store and get what I wanted to get. I had to go when they told me I can go, which was the next day.
hmm. And obviously, you probably didn't have the normal saunas you always had to use. I think they had the steam saunas, right? The portable ones.
Well, I don't think it's a steam sauna. It's pretty badass. It's like the steam one I got at my house, but like it's like an upgraded version. It's hard to, it warms up like an infrared sauna, but man, it's just like you have to sit there and you can't move in those things. Like I thought it would be more fun because your head could be popped out, but you can't. In a sauna, you can usually get up and walk around. At least you won't go crazy. But sitting there in the same spot kind of sucks. But
Yeah, I can imagine it. It's not
cutting weight,
nice.
cutting weight sucks no matter what. So you can bitch about it or you can get it done.
Hmm. And obviously, with the cutting weight, do you find sometimes it's easier if like you sort of get thrown into a fight and then you like say you have a short notice fight and someone says you've got to cut weight and you've got to be this weight by Friday and it's Wednesday, or say for example if someone says to you you've got 8 weeks to prepare, is it more of a like do you build it up in your head sometimes to be more of a mental block sort of thing?
Sometimes 8 weeks feels like forever.
Yeah,
So
I can
like
imagine.
if when I eat clean, I'm lucky enough to like drop weight fast and easy. So I train so hard and I eat so clean. Like I have like my stomach is sensitive to like bread and sauce and sugar. Like I don't know what happened at what age, but I just can't eat the way I used to eat. So I stay roughly pretty light anyway because of the way I eat. So I walk around. I used to walk around at like 160. Now I walk around at like 150. So weight cutting ain't super hard for me, but I already eat so clean. And then if I start dieting for a fight, I'll accidentally sometimes get into like the 40s. So when I train like stupid hard, I can kind of get away with getting out of my diet. It doesn't hurt my stomach as bad. But if I'm not training hard, it's weird. Like I can't eat shitty food. It like literally makes me sick. So
Yeah.
8 weeks. Sometimes if I get too ahead of schedule, it does kind of like mess in my head because I'm like, dude, I'm too small. And then, but like 35 is such a shitty cut for me. The thought of 25 is just ridiculous. And then a short notice fight, I keep my weight so low most of the time. I'm usually pretty disciplined. I always binge eat after a fight though for like a week or two. So I got up to like 165 like 4 days after, but I'm already back down to like 52, 53. So
Yeah.
you know, either way, it's pretty easy for me. Just the 8 weeks is forever sometimes.
Yeah, I can imagine. And obviously, after the fights, what's your favourite thing to binge eat on?
I don't know what is wrong with me, but I love pizza rolls after a fight. Hot pocket rolls and pizza. I don't eat American food hardly ever. Like I don't do hot dogs, pizza, none of that stuff. After a fight, all I want is like red saucy pizza type stuff.
Or the carbs, yeah.
Yes. And then I went out. I went on a binge. I had deep fried Oreos, and that was that was it after me. I ate the deep fried Oreos and started feeling nauseous. I was like, all right, it's about time to start eating right again.
Yeah, yeah, you're barely wondering what's going on. So obviously in the fight, you took him down 10 times, I believe it was,
It
and
was
I'm pretty sure it was, yeah. And everyone was saying that you had a dominant performance and everything, but you were insistent that you weren't happy with your performance. What was it exactly you weren't happy with?
uh the thing I was the most unhappy about is how bad I felt during the fight. I think that just is mostly due to maybe a little bit of how crazy my camp was. We'll get into that, but wasn't my most ideal camp for all the fights I've had. And then I
Mm,
think I've gone into fights and my legs felt real heavy before. Like I'm guessing from like bad weight cuts,
yeah.
but my legs felt great. But my arms, like literally all the way from cutting weight all the way to rehydration to the cage, they just felt like I had cinder blocks on my hands. They felt really heavy. So I wrestled him in the first round, and like I was breathing hard, and my arms just completely gave out. Like I felt like I couldn't box. I was like, I felt like I'll rewatch the fight in a couple of positions. I should have been ground and pounding a little better, and obviously I could go all day, but
Mm,
about what I could do better. But I just I don't know. I just did. I felt like shit. Like I fucking did not feel good. Like I wasn't happy with how bad I felt. Like I was. Don't get me wrong. I was trying to push. I was trying to be in his face, and if I seen a finish, I was gonna take it. But I felt like maybe how bad I felt, the finish was like gonna be a lot more difficult to pull off. I
yeah.
just didn't feel good. So like when you feel that bad in a fight, most fights I coast. Third round, I'm feeling like let's go to a fourth round. Like I might have been able to fight 4 rounds, but I didn't feel like I could. Like I just didn't feel good. I felt like I didn't. I'm pretty hard on myself, but I was like, man, this can get better. Like this just isn't what it should be.
Hmm. Yeah, and obviously, like you're saying, it was hard for you to get like ground and pound off sometimes. And like looking at the fight and looking at the two fighters, obviously, there's a massive difference between how tall he is compared to you. And on the floor, that looks like a very annoying thing to have with his long legs wrapped around you. It must be so hard to get to him.
Anybody can say what they want about the kid. For one, I think he's going to have like a good career. I'm sure he'll be in UFC, Bellator, etc. in the next 6 months to a year. I'm sure. I mean, unless he just goes on like a downward spiral after this, that kid's got talent.
Mm,
He wasn't super hard to get down, but once I got him down, he wasn't terrible at his defense. Like he was real good about getting his butterfly hooks in. I was impressed because I'm not like the best passer in the world or nothing, but like I got a pretty decent pass, top game pressure, and like he did a good job of defending himself. I thought he had decent defense.
yeah, yeah, it looked like it. And
And
obviously, sorry,
when I
carry
was
on.
his up kick game was nice, man. I'm so serious. I haven't told any of my interviews this. He threw a axe kick downwards and hit me right in the liver, and it literally felt like I got like switch kicked or spinning back kicked to the liver. That's how bad it hurt. Like second round, he up kicks me, he down kicks me in the liver, and he stood up, and that's when Daniel said it looked like I might be getting a little tired. Like that, he hurt me with that kick.
Yeah, you was just hurt.
It was pretty wild. I was like, did he really just do that?
Yeah, that's mad. And obviously, you mentioned you've been trying to get the finish, and you wasn't really feeling the greatest. But do you feel any more pressure to try get a finish, being on Dana White's Contender Series?
Maybe a little, but not. But honestly, in my head, that's not what was going through it.
Yeah.
I've had I had 13 amateur MMA fights, and I was 5-1 walking in the cage. My amateur career and my pro career, like they're almost all finishes, and so I'm used to finishing, and I'm used to being flashy and exciting. I wasn't quite as flashy and exciting this one, but I've always been a pretty flashy guy. I bring my sparring into the cage. I throw spinning heel kicks, back kicks, spinning back fists, head kicks, flying knees. It's just the way. It's just how it is. Like my last fight for LFA. I mean, if I would was just a highlight, basically the whole second and third round. I mean, I'm just exciting, and my manager knows that. So I thought honestly, like, there's no doubt in my mind I'm going to impress Dana White. I just impressed him differently because that's not necessarily the way I fought in the past. So I fight in a lot of different ways, but that's not the way I fought in my past previous fights.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you is, like, can you see people being even more impressed with you because people were saying you were the takedown king and all this stuff, but can you see people being more impressed when you actually get a chance to show them your all-round game?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I got a lot of years left, and I mean, I was working with a coach last night. He was a Taekwondo coach, and I already got really good kicks. I'm only getting better. I mean, I got good striking, and I move on to new techniques well. I'm dynamic. I'm not scared to do anything. If I feel like it'll work in a fight, people call it unorthodox. I just call it martial arts.
Yeah. And when do you think you're going to get back into the cage to make your UFC debut?
I haven't heard anything yet. My management team, first round management, Matt Weibel has already contacted Sean Shelby, the UFC. I have to get cleared by the doctor October 1st for this. I'm sure I'll get cleared and everything will be fine. I'm already back to moving around in the gym. I just can't do anything contact-wise. I'm hoping before January, fingers crossed.
Yeah. And then can you think of an ideal opponent you'd like to face, or anyone that they've put in front of you?
I'm a newbie, and I really only know the guys in the top 5. I'm one of those guys. I mean, I've probably watched a few bantamweights and didn't realize it.
Yeah.
But I know the top 5, and that's just probably not happening. Like, so I don't have a guy right now, but I'm sure after like 4 or 5 fights, I'll get the respect to start calling people out.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously, do you not watch much fight site? Do you like to keep up to date with like the well-known people, but don't watch keep up to date with anything?
I watch fights in general. Like, I maybe miss a card here and there, but I watch fights. Well, definitely if I know it's going to be an exciting card. But I don't follow, like, I don't super follow it. I used to be like watching fighting all day, just super, super, super obsessed. Now I do a lot of like rolling on Instagram and just watching a new wrestling video for an hour sometimes, but I don't do quite as much following people as I do just studying. Like, I watch fighters I've never heard of on YouTube all the time and stuff like that.
And I noticed on your record that your only loss in your professional career is to Steven Garcia, who's now actually in the UFC as well. Is that a fight you would want to get back one day? Or are you not too bothered?
Any loss would be great to get back. I mean, that every fighter has an ego, and that would be awesome. Right now, not to beat the bush, but I think his last fight was at 55. He moved up to 45 after his Contender Series fight because he missed weight. Moved up to LFA at 45 and missed weight again. Not saying he can't ever make 35 again, but it doesn't look like he's making 35 ever again. I'm not a big bantamweight, so maybe here in like 3 years, maybe I'll get a new strength and conditioning coach and figure out my body better, and I'll bulk up, and it'll be happening, or maybe he'll learn how to cut back down. So if I get the phone call or I see the situation where he's winning and it looks like a fight that'll get me, ranked, then absolutely. But there's so many guys out here to fight. I'm not obsessed with getting back in there with them. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I still got fights to win and a title to start chasing for here in a few years.
Yeah. And obviously, you mentioned you're with First Round Management and your manager, Matt Weibel. How is it working with them?
Oh, man. It's awesome because from Middle Tennessee, so most of my fights were in the Southeast. and my record after when I fought for Bellator, I think I was 2-0 or 3-0 at the time. So
Mm-hmm.
I 3-1, and after that, I just couldn't find a fight because nobody with a record around me wanted to fight me. I think of myself like highly. I just think of myself as skilled. But like, if I'll fight, if I fight you, I respect you. I'm gonna train hard. Nobody wanted to fight me with around the same record as me because they knew the outcome was probably them losing. So I only got offers from people with way more fights than me, but normally they wouldn't take it because I wasn't worth the squeeze. I didn't have very many fights. So if they lost to me, that doesn't look good on them. So me finding fights was just it was going horrible. And I had 3 training camps in a row. I swear to you, I trained 7 weeks. On that last week, I found out I wasn't fighting because opponents would back out, changes, couldn't find a guy, injuries. I mean, I didn't fight for I think 2 years after Bellator, and like after training for 3 camps in a row within 6 months, I was just like, what is happening? So a year went by after that. I found first round management, maybe a year and a half, and they found me a fight in like 3 months. Like I was on LFA in like 3 months.
Yeah, that's good. I've heard a lot of things about them. They always like stand by their fighters very well.
Yeah, we had trouble finding me opponents after that, and then I got the Contender series call, so everything worked out.
And how was it for you when you found out about you was going to be on the Contender series?
I was walking through the supermarket down in Florida. He calls me and he goes, "How you feeling?" I'm like, "What's up? What's up, Matt? I'm feeling good." He was like, "You ready to fight? Or when do you think you'll be ready to fight?" Something along those lines. And I look at him and I'm like, "Listen, if I'm not injured, offer me a fight and I'll take it." And he goes, and I wasn't even hardly training at the time because of COVID and moving to Florida, and all the gyms were closed and ATT wasn't accepting new fighters. So I think he's like, all right. And I'm assuming he's calling because he hit me up about LFA like maybe a couple weeks before that. So I'm assuming he's saying LFA in a couple weeks or maybe a month or 2 or stay ready. And he goes, all right, Contender series September 1st, let's go. And I'm just like, yo, you better be serious right now. Like I'm jumping around the store and I mean, dude, I didn't know what to think. You almost don't like. You want this thing to happen to you, and then it happens, and you don't know how to feel about it.
And then going on from that, how did it feel to sit in the chair and then for Dana White to say that you've got that contract?
Oh, there's no better feeling ever. And I was nervous. I didn't get to finish. I didn't perform the way I would like, but just something in the back of my head told me I was getting a contract.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, because obviously with Dana White's Contender series, he always says he likes people that go out there and show off and have a good finish, maybe a submission, a knockout, whatever. But even with you not finishing your fight, you still had a very dominant performance, and he was still stood up giving you a standing ovation and was really impressed with your performance. So that says something about you.
I'm assuming it was because of how highly touted my opponent was. I'm sure he was a prospect they expected to do big things, and also, regardless of not finishing, I never slowed down, and I didn't do that thing to where you hold back. You know what I mean? Like I was still, in his face pushing it. Like, there's been a few fights where guys like, if there's a night not to freeze up, that's the night. You got to go. Even if you end up getting finished yourself going after it, I mean, leave it all in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good thing to say, actually, because, like, for example, some of the other people that have recently fought on Dana White's Contender series, they've been finished or had a good fight and lost, but then they've been re-invited back on in the next few months.
Yeah.
So
Or you get like a phone call, and someone backs out and you get a week or 2 to get ready and you're in the UFC. I mean, hey, it's almost better than having to go back and almost do a tryout. Like it's kind of nerve-wracking knowing I'm showing up to this place and I got to fight and try out for the UFC when I'm already good enough to be in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could get a short notice. I tried to notice phone call during the Contender Series fight camp. Like I tried to jump the line and get into the UFC, but they were like, "That's solving one problem and creating another," so they didn't give it to me.
Yeah. But I think in some ways it's good going on like Dana White's Contender series or Tough, because it's like
Oh, it's awesome.
it gets more eyes on you straight away before you're even in the UFC. Like if you take
you're
someone,
absolutely right. You're
so
right. It worked out in my favor really well. I fought a guy. I was the underdog. He looked like a monster. I ended up showcasing my skills. My name got out there. Dana was happy. I mean, man, who after how bad my camp was, I couldn't imagine it going any better.
and if you want to get into your camp, what went wrong in your camp?
All right, I'm gonna try to not like talk for 10 minutes. So I'm gonna do my best to get it out. So Matt calls me. I'm in the store. I think he calls me 10 weeks out. I'm not sure, but I think it was around 10 to 9 weeks out from the fight. I usually train for a fight for 8 weeks, and then that last week we taper down. This is an ideal camp. You get 8 weeks, so you can work hard enough but smart as well.
Yeah.
He calls me at the time. I moved to Florida when I first got here. For like the first month, I didn't train one time. I just my best friend moved down here with me, with my girlfriend and my newborn daughter, and so we were like doing some like stuff in the back patio. But he's kind of green. He's still an amateur, so I'm doing most of the teaching. We would go on runs. We would do like push-ups together. There's like a little jungle gym in my area that we would work out on, but they ended up taping that off because of COVID as well. So Jacob Kilborn lives here. He's at American Top Team. He recently made it to the UFC. He's from the same area I am, in the Middle Tennessee area. So he knows I'm down here. He hooks me up with a boxing coach in Billy Padden. So I start working pads with Billy, and he, tries to reach out to Top Team. My management team tries to reach out to Top Team, and they're like, "Hey, we can't accept no new fighters right now with COVID. It's not going to happen." So once I found out I got the fight, Matt reached out again, and they were like, "Listen, I'm sorry, our hands are tied." So it gets to be about 8 weeks out, maybe 7.5 weeks out till the fight, and like I'm hitting pads with my coach Billy, but an MMA fight isn't a boxing match, and like hitting pads just doesn't really create like what you're looking for. Getting kicked, wrestled, jiu-jitsu, just the whole game is different. Like, so if I would have had to, I would have hit pads the whole camp and went and fought. But I called some coaches that I had back in Nashville. That's the gym I was at before I moved to Florida. They recently, at the time, literally just opened back up because of the COVID situation. So I fly down there. When I get there, my first week there, they changed the schedule to open mat that week. So right now, I got somewhere to train, but I don't have somewhere to start a fight camp. They're doing no MMA practice and no sparring. So I get there, and I'm hitting pads with a few coaches. I start working with a strength and conditioning coach there named Tim. A few weeks go by, and I'm like, man, listen, I love Nashville. This is where I've had all my career pretty much at, but I'm not doing a fight camp. I can't. I flew all the way out here away from my family. I'm hitting pads. And then my last week there, they just started doing MMA practice again, but it was just getting going. I fly back down to Florida to see my lady and the baby. I get together with Billy, hit pads. This guy named Chuck happens to be there. He's a coach at TriStar and ATT Sunrise. He looks at me and he says, listen, he watches me spar, and he goes, I'm going to get you with a guy named Roger Crow, okay? And I'm like, all right. So I have to fly back to Nashville and fly to Vegas for the promo. So there's another week from my camp gone. Then I have to fly back to Nashville, finish my week there. I fly back down to Florida. Saturday, I walk in for open sparring. Roger's going to watch me spar. It felt like an interview. So I spar, he watches. He doesn't say much. And then the next day he texts me and he's like, all right, hey, who are you fighting? And I said, I'm fighting Jose Johnson. This is him. He's 6 foot, blah, blah, blah. He says, come in tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I get in there. He has his pads ready. He says, all right, get geared up. And, like, immediately starts going over a game plan of how we're going to beat this guy. I mean, like, the next day he told me exactly how Jose was going to fight. He told me exactly what I was going to do. And, I mean, literally, Jose Johnson fought me, like, almost identical to how he said he was going to fight. It was pretty unreal. Roger is an absolute ninja maker. He's sensei, man. He knows the shit. It was amazing. Like, I've had some good coaches, but, like, I've only had one other coach like him to where, like, soon as we got going, I was like, this is my guy. Like, this is my next coach. Like it was awesome. Like, so for that 3 weeks, I wasn't able to like go to a lot of gyms and travel because he didn't want to catch me COVID to get injured. So we just did a lot of circuits, shark kinked me a couple times, and then just hit pads and kept going over the game plan. And you know, I got in the best shape I could, and we had a game plan, and that was almost the game plan. Like the way I fought on the feet, that was literally the game plan.
Yeah.
Outside, hack the calf. If he backs up, throw the back kick. If he starts jamming it, throw the double leg.
It's quite a whirlwind of events, really, to have. Like, obviously, a lot of fighters don't have a gym to train at, but to fly somewhere else to go to train there and then not actually be able to train there, and then also be away from your, like you say, your wife and your kid.
Yeah, my lady just had a baby, so she was dealing with a little postpartum depression. So I'm all the way in another state. She's watching the little girl by herself. She has family here. That's actually why we came down to Florida. But like, they can only help so much. You know what I mean? So it was tough. It was tough. And you know, National MMA, regardless, like they're an amazing gym. They just, with COVID, it just wasn't going well.
Yeah, it messed everything up, really.
Yeah, it did. I'm sure other guys have had to deal with the same sort of thing. So I'm not the only one, but it definitely was a little bit in my head going in the fight, knowing I didn't prepare as well as I would like.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, that's what you do inside the cage, and like everyone, all you guys do it outside as well. You fight to get to the cage, and then when you're there, like even sometimes people say that the fight to get to the cage is the hardest part.
Yeah, Roger did a great job of just keeping me in the right mindset. He, you know, about 2 weeks out, a week out, and he said, "Listen, man, all this stuff we're doing is great. Nothing matters until that bell goes ding ding, and you walk out there and you start fighting." He was like, "So keep your head clear, and go out there and just do your thing and have fun." And it really kept me where I needed to be. I was like, all this stuff going through my head, all this nervousness, whatever I might be thinking, it doesn't matter. We got to go out there and we got to fight. And I always seem to perform pretty well.
Yeah, that's good. So that's all the questions I've got for you then, Ronnie. Unless you want to say anything.
I wouldn't mind doing like just a quick thank you to a few people. I'd like to thank Matt Viper, Jiu-Jitsu Apparel. I'd like to thank La Chosa's Hot Sauce out of Nashville. I'd like to thank First Round Management, Matt Weibel, of course. I'd like to thank my list of coaches. Obviously, I'd have to start with the most recent future coach, Roger Crowell at ATT Sunrise. I'd definitely have to thank Lance Patrick, Itai Tirado, and everybody at National MMA. And I'd have to thank my mentor and my jiu-jitsu coach, Earl Medley, under Zenith's Jiu-Jitsu. And, you know, I hope to do big things soon.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I look forward to seeing you in the cage again.